Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of Lucky Offense and talking about something that's always fun to discuss, tier lists. More specifically, we're breaking down the ranking of all the units in the game. Now, if you've played Lucky Offense before, you probably know the drill. The gameplay is easy to get into, but trust me, it only gets tougher as you progress, and with each new wave, you'll realize how much strategy really matters. Sure, mythic units might seem like the obvious top tier picks, but there's a lot more going on than meets the eye when it comes to their true value. So, in this video, we're going to take a closer look at what makes some units rise above the rest. It's not just about having the highest stats, it's about how they perform in different situations and how they synergize with your overall strategy. Whether you're stacking up on damage dealers or leaning into tanks, every choice can make a big difference in how you tackle the waves ahead. Stick around as we explore which units truly stand out and why. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Lucky Offense. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Robo, Bandit, Mushroom, Shock Robot, and Tyrant Badger. Alright, let's dive into the wonderful world of D tier characters in Lucky Offense. I know. These guys might not be the stars of the show, but don't underestimate them just yet. You'll definitely be seeing Robo, Bandit, Mushroom, Shock Robot, and Tyrant Badger a lot, especially in the early stages of the game. They're like your backup squad when you're just starting out. Not the flashiest or strongest, but they sure know how to get the job done when you need them. The key here is upgrading them as you go, because with the right boosts, they can provide some surprisingly solid support during your matches. Even though they're sitting comfortably in the D tier, don't let that fool you. Robo's a sturdy choice for a reliable early defender, and the Bandit's always there to steal the show, or some loot. Then there's Mushroom, who's definitely the quirky option, but can still pack a punch when positioned correctly. Shock Robot might be on the lower end of the power scale, but that electrical zap is still handy when you're in a pinch. And don't sleep on Tyrant Badger. It's all about that grit and tenacity, and believe me, you'll want it when you're up against tougher enemies. So, don't rush past these units just because they're not the shiny new thing. They may surprise you with how much they can help, as long as you keep leveling them up. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ninja, Sheriff, Hunter, Ranger, and Eagle General. Alright, let's talk about some of the characters you might find hanging out in the C tier of Lucky Offense. These units aren't exactly going to carry your team to victory, but they've got their perks, especially in the early stages of the game. If you're just starting out, or if you're looking for some backup against those beefy enemies, these characters can definitely do the job. First up, we've got the Ninja. This guy is a mythic tier unit, and his strength lies in his stealth and the movement speed. He's perfect for sneaking around and taking out those swarms of weak enemies, especially in the early game when you just need to clear out a bunch of little guys. However, he's super squishy, and if he's left to fend for himself in the middle of a battle, he won't last long. He's definitely not a boss killer unless you've got someone else tanking the damage for him. Next, there's the Sheriff, a legendary tier mage. This character excels at attacking enemies from a distance, picking off targets in the backline. His range is solid, and if you can stack him with other units, he really shines. But if you're relying on him alone, he can be a bit underwhelming. He's great for laying down consistent damage, but he's not going to single-handedly save the day unless he's supported by other units. Then we've got the Hunter. Despite being labeled as a melee unit, this epic tier character actually does pretty decent mid-range damage. As he levels up and gets stacked, his damage output can become pretty impressive. The downside? His attack speed is slow, like really slow. He can be a bit of a sitting duck when it comes to faster, more agile enemies, but if you can manage to get his hits in, he'll pack a punch. The Ranger is another solid option in the C tier. A rare tier ranged unit, he's super cheap to deploy and can fire away at enemies from the safety of the backlines. In the early game, he's an absolute gem. He'll chip away at the enemies as you build up your forces. However, as the game progresses and enemies get tougher, the Ranger starts to struggle. He can't really keep up with the stronger units or contribute as much as you might need later on. Last but not least, we have the Eagle General. This epic tier ranged unit is known for his fast attacks, and he can deal a decent amount of damage when stacked with other units. The catch? His damage is aimed at random enemies, so sometimes it feels like he's not targeting the right threats. He can be really effective in the right situations, but you'll need to keep an eye on him to make sure he's not wasting his shots. All in all, the Eagle General can be a great addition to your team, but you'll need to manage his targeting carefully. So there you have it. These C-tier characters aren't the flashiest or the most powerful, but they can definitely get the job done in the right circumstances. Whether you're using them for early game support or stacking them in a more strategic setup, each of them has their moments to shine. Keep them in mind when you're building your team. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Bandit King, Mush King, Good Gun, Tiger Master, and Electro Robot. Alright folks, let's get real for a second. We're diving into the B tier characters in Lucky Offense, the ones that might not steal the spotlight but still have their moments to shine. They're like that one friend who's always just good enough to be invited to the party, but maybe not the life of it. So let's break down what makes them tick, and where they might let you down when things get tough. First up, we've got the Bandit King. This mythic support unit starts strong, especially in the early game. He's pretty solid and free to use, which is always a win, right? The Bandit King buffs your team's critical rate and boosts his own health points and attack, based on how many bandits are in your squad. Sounds awesome, right? But here's the catch, if you don't have enough bandits, he's kind of a glass cannon, especially since he's melee. Without those extra bandit units to prop him up, he'll crumble quicker than a cookie under pressure. Then, there's the Mush King, your poison-spreading, ranged powerhouse. This mythic mage is fantastic at dealing with unpoisoned enemies by targeting them first, and get this, the poison he applies stacks and even transfers to other targets when one of them dies. But as much as we love him, his damage isn't instant. You've got to wait for the poison to stack up, and even then, there's a cap when it comes to dealing damage to bosses. So, while he's a great tool for building up over time, you'll need something else to help in those more immediate, intense situations. Now let's talk about the Good Gun. This mythic range unit is, well, kind of good. He's got impressive range and decent attack speed, but his strength really lies in spamming attacks. That's his thing. If you're looking for something quick and reliable, he can be a great option. However, his attack buffs take a little time to really kick in, which means he's not exactly a powerhouse out of the gate. He's more of a late blooming hero, and unfortunately, that makes him somewhat mediocre when you need that instant impact. Next, we've got the Tiger Master, a legendary melee unit that's all about the buffs. This guy gives attack speed boosts to adjacent tiles, and his basic attacks hit in an area of effect. If you want to stack his abilities and level him up, he's easier to upgrade compared to mythic characters. However, the big downside is that being a legendary unit, he does have limits. He won't scale as well as the more powerful mythic or higher tier characters, and that's where his potential starts to fall short. And last but definitely not least, the Electro Robot. Now, this epic tank is a decent choice for covering your team, especially in the early game. He can stun enemies with his skills and take a few hits, giving you some much needed protection. However, he's slow and weak when it comes to attacking. The poor guy just can't deal much damage on his own, making him a bit of a one-trick pony who's great for defense but doesn't contribute much to offense. You'll need stronger damage dealers around him to make up for his lack of offensive power. So there you have it. These B-tier characters in Lucky Offense might not be the top contenders, but they've got their strengths. They may need a little help from their friends to truly shine, but with the right team composition, they'll still get the job done. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Princess, Clint, Shept, Chef, Punk, and Scar. Alright, let's get into some of the best characters in Lucky Offense. You know, those units that are just solid choices if you're looking to build a team that's both fun and effective. We're talking about the A-tier characters, the ones that deserve your attention, but still might not be the absolute top-tier picks. Don't get me wrong, they're still really good, just not the MVPs of the game. So let's dive into some of the characters that will make your gameplay much smoother when used right. First up is Princess. She's a mythic tank, and while she might not be the most reliable tank in all situations, she definitely has a unique charm. When her ultimate is activated, she summons a tanky Phantom Knight to taunt enemies. But here's the twist, when those Phantom Knights fall, they stun enemies around them and heal Princess herself. Sounds awesome, right? Well, it is, sort of. The problem is, those summoned knights have low stats and don't exactly hold up well in tougher battles. So, while Princess can be a solid tank in some situations, she can be pretty inconsistent. Still, if you're into quirky mechanics, she might just work for you. Next on the list is Clint, the mythic range character. Now, Clint has some serious damage potential. His ultimate ability costs very little mana, and every time he uses it, his attack damage gets incrementally stronger. Combine that with his already massive attack stat and the fact that he has the longest range in the entire game, and you've got a character that can dish out some serious pain. The downside? His attack speed is sluggish, which means it can take forever for Clint to really reach his full damage potential. But if you can play around that slow wind-up time, Clint will reward you with insane burst damage. Then there's Chef. This mythic melee character is basically a berserker in the kitchen. When Chef defeats enemies, he restores some health, which gives him a little self-sustain during battles. On top of that, the more health Chef loses, the more attack and attack speed he gains. Pretty cool, right? The catch though is that the investment into Chef's mythic merge doesn't always feel worth it. While he's fun to use, if you're looking for something more consistent and powerful, you might want to consider stacking Sheriffs instead. Chef is a bit of a gamble, but if you like risky playstyles, he could be a good fit for you. Now, let's talk about Punk, the mythic range character with some real potential. Punk has a massive attack range and lightning fast attack speed, which means he can lay down a ton of damage before enemies even get close. On top of that, he gets stronger with each kill, as his range increases. His ultimate also provides a disengage buff if his health drops low once per wave, which is a nice lifeline in tough situations. However, Punk isn't invincible. His low health means that he's one shot away from being taken out if caught off guard. So, if you're going to use Punk, you've got to make sure you position him well and keep him safe while he does his thing. Scar is another mythic tank, but he has a completely different playstyle. His damage output skis with his health, which makes him a tank that can actually dish out some serious damage while also absorbing hits. He also has damage reduction buffs that help him stay durable, making him a bit more reliable than Princess when it comes to staying alive. The catch with Scar is his ultimate, which doesn't always time well with larger enemies. The Bite Refresh passive doesn't trigger as effectively against bigger targets, so you've got to get the timing just right to really maximize his potential. But if you can manage that, Scar can definitely hold his own and deal damage while taking hits. Now, let's shift gears for a second and look at the strategy behind these A-tier characters. If you compare some of them with the right relics, they truly shine. For example, giving Clint the right gear can help offset his slow attack speed and really make him a powerhouse. Similarly, Princess can be more reliable if you manage her summons with a bit of strategy, making sure she's positioned correctly to take advantage of her health restoring mechanic. Chef, on the other hand, needs a bit of a risky playstyle, but with the right buffs, he can become an absolute beast in battles. It's all about knowing their strengths and weaknesses and playing around them. So, what's the takeaway here? These A-tier characters are far from being just okay. They've got a lot of potential if you use them correctly, but they also come with their quirks. If you're ready to put in the time and effort to make them work, you'll find yourself with some seriously fun and powerful team members. Sure, they're not the absolute best, but they can hold their own if you know how to maximize their abilities. And let's be real, sometimes playing with the underdogs can be more fun than just relying on the top tier picks. In conclusion, these A-tier characters are not just filler units, they're definitely worth considering for your team. Whether you're looking for something with great range, tankiness, or just a bit of fun, you can find something to love about each of them. So, try them out, experiment with different combinations, and see which ones work best for your strategy. Happy battling! The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Mecharomancer, Meow, Dragon, War Machine, Dana, Carter, and Kitty Mage. Let's talk about the absolute powerhouses of Lucky Offense. You know, the characters that make you feel like you're invincible when you deploy them on the battlefield. These are the S-tier units, the ones you don't want to miss out on. They've got everything: massive damage, durability, and game-changing abilities. Trust me, if you've got any of these guys, you're in for an epic ride. First up, we've got the Mecharomancer. This unit is a true beast when it comes to summoning those melee mecha bots. When his ultimate ability activates, he summons these bots that are stronger than a lot of standalone melee units. The best part? The ultimate has a low cost, so you can summon a ton of bots quickly. They'll be zapping your enemies with both regular and area of effect attacks. The range is fantastic, and they have a decent attack speed. The only downside, it takes a bit of time to summon the critical mass of bots, so you'll definitely need a strong tank to hold down the fort while your Mecharomancer does his thing. Now, if you want a mage with a bit more finesse, let me introduce you to Meow. This mythic unit is a teleporting terror. She can send her attacks straight into enemy lines, wreaking havoc like it's no big deal, and her ultimate ability? It's insanely powerful. On top of that, Meow's got surprisingly strong health for a mage, making her a bit more durable than most others in her class. She moves quickly and has a decent attack speed too. The only downside here is the RNG factor. Sometimes it can be hard to predict exactly where her attacks will land, but when they hit hard. Then there's Dragon. This guy is the definition of a jack-of-all-trades character. He's got ridiculously high health and attack stats, plus he homes in on a random spot on the battlefield at the start of the battle. With his multiple buffs, things get chaotic fast in the best way possible. The catch? To unlock Dragon's full potential, you'll need to merge one of each of the 3 legendary units, and he's pretty slow to start moving, but once he gets going, watch out, he can change the course of the battle. Let's talk tanks now. Enter War Machine, the legendary tank that's surprisingly easy to obtain compared to his mythic counterparts. The best part, when grouped up with his copies, he boasts a massive total health pool, making him an absolute wall of defense. He even has a chance to stun enemies when he takes a hit, which can be a total game changer. The only thing to note, his attack might as well not exist. He's built for defense, not for delivering damage, so make sure you've got some offensive units in your lineup. Next, we've got Dana, the healer you never knew you needed. Dana's got incredible healing abilities, making him perfect for supporting your team in the heat of battle. He can heal multiple units at once, and his damage reduction ability helps keep your squad alive for longer. Thanks to his long-range abilities, he can stay out of harm's way, as long as there's a tank up front doing the dirty work. However, there is a catch. He requires merging 1 War Machine and 2 Hunters to unlock, and all he does is heal. So, if you're in need of more damage, you'll have to look elsewhere. Carter, the mythic tank, is up next, and he's definitely one of the most interesting units in the game. Carter's special linking skill lets him provide a ton of buffs to the unit directly behind him, including damage reduction, healing, mana recovery, and big boosts to health and attack. His health pool is the largest in the game, which makes him an absolute tank. However, if he's not linked to an attack-heavy unit, his own damage output is pretty much negligible, so make sure you pair him with someone who can dish out the pain while he keeps them safe. And let's not forget about Kitty Mage, another mythic support unit that's just a joy to have around. Kitty Mage provides a huge 40% attack speed boost to the entire team, which is fantastic for cranking out damage. She's got a decent attack range and a surprisingly high attack stat for a support unit. Plus, at level 12, she can unleash a special Kitty Punch that strikes 3 enemies at once, which is both adorable and deadly. The only downside, her MP restoration abilities don't really do much if no one else in your team has MP skills to benefit from it. Still, a solid pick for any support-heavy team. So, whether you're looking to dominate with a tank, dish out some devastating damage, or keep your team alive with healing and buffs, these S-tier units have got you covered. They're versatile, powerful, and most importantly, they make you feel like you're truly in control of the battlefield. Happy battling! The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.